everybody. First off, I want to shout out all of my subscribers, all of my followers. If you've ever commented on a video, liked a video, I love you. Like straight love right here from me to you. If you have not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button. These are things that you don't want to miss. I post a video weekly and I want you to be able to watch it so that you can stay encouraged. This is not for me, this is for you. So this week we're going to talk about being uncomfortable. You know, those awkward feelings that we get. I'm going to break this down. Me and God had a conversation about being uncomfortable, and he said, Kayla, you're going to be uncomfortable. And as a result of it, I'm going to bless you. So stay tuned if you've been uncomfortable. It's a great lesson. Let's get to it. Hop to it. All right. So I'm living in a sticky note heaven right now. I have like a whole bunch of sticky notes right here. They all have my notes on it. So if you see me looking over, that's what I'm looking at, okay? So the uncomfortable. What does it mean to be uncomfortable? Causing or feeling slight pain or physical discomfort. Okay. Synonyms: painful, disagreeable, confining, or cramped. Now, I have some examples of uncomfortable because there's so many different things that we as people call uncomfortable. Now, before a doctor does certain procedures on you, usually they say, there's going to be some slight discomfort. Now, this is awesome because you think about doctors and all they're really trying to do is help you. If we be honest, if we have good doctors. And so the procedure is meant to help you, but in getting to that, you feel a little bit of discomfort. You feel uncomfortable, right? All right, what about those small clothes or those small spaces that maybe you can't fit into? I'm not talking about being overweight. I'm talking about simply growing out of certain spaces. So you put on some clothes, you know, it's getting to be summertime. You go in your drawer and you try to put those jeans back on or those shorts back on and you realize that they don't fit the same way. You've outgrown them. Or what about those small spaces? You ever sit somewhere and you just feel like something's not right. Something is not settled in me. I feel uncomfortable. And me being slightly claustrophobic, I don't like to sit on the inside of booths at dining places, especially if it's a small booth. If it's a big booth, I can work with it. But the small ones, they make me uncomfortable. I feel like I can't get out. Okay. I'm going somewhere. So what about sitting in an uncomfortable chair? You sit down, that chair has no give, it has no cushion. And no matter how much cushion you have back there, you're still, every 5 minutes, every couple seconds, you shifting and hoping that the chair gets a little bit more comfortable, but it doesn't. And it's like when we sit in these uncomfortable chairs, we refuse to get up because we don't feel like standing, but we change, we shift, we are the ones that make the change to kind of adjust to the uncomfortableness of the chair. So I'm going somewhere. So when I told God, I prayed to God, I said, Lord, I feel uncomfortable. You know, he's having me go places by myself. He's having me to meet people that maybe I'm nervous to meet. He's just putting me in these situations where I feel uncomfortable. And he asked me this question. He said, Kayla, how comfortable do you think Noah was on the ark? Because you think Noah was in a boat for 40 days and 40 nights, right? Because that's how long it rained. And there's all these animals. I'm sure it didn't smell all that great on there the whole time. And yes, the ark was big, but I'm sure it got uncomfortable. It kind of got stuffy. I'm sure it was humid in there from all the rain. And I'm sure it was not always comfortable. But on the other side of Noah being in this ark, because the ark was this form of protection for him. Yes, God. This ark was a form of protection for him. If he hadn't stayed in the ark and overcome the uncomfortableness of the ark, he would not have been able to obtain the promise, the life that God had for him on the other side of being uncomfortable. And then he asked me, so how comfortable do you think Daniel was when he was in the lion's den? I'm sure being in a dark place, it was completely pitch black. It says that they rolled a stone or something over top of this hole that he was in when he was in the lion's den. And I'm sure it wasn't 100% comfortable. The story makes it seem like he was good, he was straight, but it doesn't go into details about how comfortable he was being in this place. Now, Daniel, Yeah, Daniel had money at this time. He was living in a nice place, and he's having to go sleep on the ground with lions, and I'm sure it wasn't the most sanitary place. So the Lord proceeded to ask me. He said, how comfortable do you think Daniel was in the lion's den? But on the other side of being in the lion's den, he was able to prove the promises of God. He was able to show people, demonstrate to other people that his God is God. Okay? So how about Joseph in prison? Now, we know that Joseph went through quite some things, quite a list of things. And being in prison after he had been in Potiphar's house, he was in royalty. He was like Potiphar's right-hand man. And after all that thing happened with Potiphar's wife, he was then cast into prison. How comfortable do you think he was being in prison? Prison is not a comfortable place. I mean, I'm sure back then they didn't have mattresses like that. I'm sure he was sleeping on a concrete or a dirt floor. Like, he wasn't comfortable. But on the other side of that was when he, got in touch with Pharaoh, with King, with this guy who's important in Egypt. Like, on the other side of being uncomfortable is God's promise. There's some things that we have to go through, but I'm not done. So think about Jesus on the cross. How comfortable do you think he anticipated the cross being? I'll let you think about that for a few minutes. Like, the cross was not comfortable. If we read about the cross, if we understand what happens on the cross, that there was birds trying to pick out your eyes, and they had open wounds that bugs were trying to get into. And I mean, the weight of your body suspended by the nails in your arms, and you're trying to push up to relieve that pressure off your arms, but your feet are nailed. Like, the cross was not comfortable, and Jesus died there because he was so uncomfortable, lost so much blood, couldn't breathe, all these things. It says he could have suffered heart failure, congestive heart failure, like all these different things. But on the other side of being uncomfortable, what did Jesus obtain? The name above all names. Like, okay, so the Lord basically was telling me, he said, Kayla, I'm not going to take you out of uncomfortable places. That's not who I am. I've called you there. I ordained the footsteps of a righteous man. And because I've called you to be there, I need you to go through it. I need you to get through it. But as a result of these uncomfortable places, I need you to change. I need you to adjust to the uncomfortable. Because God, we as humans are creatures of habit. And as creatures of habit, we get into this pattern of life. And for God to bless us, a lot of times he has to bring us up out of that pattern. And so he has to break the mold. He has to break the mold of our pattern, of our everyday habits. And what does he do? He causes us to be uncomfortable. Maybe a car breaks down. Maybe somebody passes away. Maybe somebody gives up on you that you didn't expect to be giving up on you. Maybe you got to go somewhere by yourself. Maybe you got to talk to some people that you didn't feel like talking to, or that you feel are above you, and these people can give you opportunity. God's desire for us in the uncomfortable is to get us somewhere that maybe we couldn't go by ourselves. So understand that the uncomfortable is a blessing. Maybe God's trying to show you that you don't belong in a certain area anymore. Maybe you're uncomfortable in a place where you were previously comfortable in, and God is saying, well, now it's time for you to come out. Now it's time for you to get away from these certain groups of people because you've changed. So pray about being uncomfortable. I pray that God doesn't take you out of the uncomfortable. I pray that he leaves you there, that whatever you're going through, that God changes you, that he is allowed to bless you. Because again, Daniel, Noah, Moses, I mean, how comfortable was Moses finally having to speak to these people, and he still stutters? Never said that God delivered his tongue. Never. So be blessed today. Be encouraged as I go through the uncomfortable and obtain the promises of God. I pray that you do as well. So I will see you guys later. I love y'all. Continue to subscribe and comment and like. I love y'all. Can't wait to hear back from you. All right. See y'all.